Hi, I'm Daniel, I'm a sleep physician, and if you want to sleep amazing, this channel is for you. Insomnia is driven by the fear of losing sleep. You have to train your brain to see that it has nothing to fear. In order to do that, I'm going to ask of you something I've never asked before, and that is to be brave. Hey there, hope you're doing amazing today, and welcome to this episode where we'll see how being brave is super important when it comes to getting to that place of amazing sleep. Just a quick, background about why this episode came to be. Well, I've been learning more and more about how kind of insomnia is driven by the fear of losing sleep, and not being willing to experience insomnia is kind of what's driving it. But the real insight to me came yesterday, and it was it's funny how I haven't thought about this before, but I've always thought about being patient, being willing to learn were the key attributes that gets you to sleeping well. But I realized yesterday, I was driving the kids, brave. You have to be brave. You have to be brave to be able to get your brain to realize that it has nothing to fear. And one more thing before we get more practical here. A lot of people tell me that when I talk about CBTI, cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, that it's kind of like training yourself to sleep. And that expression has never really sat well with me. Sometimes I'm yeah, kind of, and we're not really, something like that. But the reason it doesn't sit well with me is that sleeping is not a skill. It's not something we can control. So training yourself to sleep never sat well with me. But now I realize that there is a training component of CBTI, and the training is to train your brain to see that sleeplessness is a perceived threat, not a physical threat like a bear that you should be afraid of, but a perceived threat that it's confused about, which leads to all this trouble sleeping. So now, getting real practical here, what do I mean by all this? What do I mean by being brave, etc.? So I've written down a couple of examples. So imagine this, your friend emails you with a link, and you see that this is an article about how insomnia causes troubles with your thyroid hormones or something like that. Now, you have this urge to open that attachment, and the reason is the following: that your brain has cued in on sleeplessness as a threat. That part of your brain that's there to try to keep you safe is telling you that sleeplessness is a threat. It's in this threat monitoring, problem solving mode. So it sees this attachment. It's telling you this is important. I'm telling you, insomnia is a real big deal. You got to read this. You got to educate yourself. You got to be prepared. You gotta fight this thing. You got to get more sleep. And that's why you have this urge to read that attachment. But part of your brain also knows that it's not going to help you. It's going to make you more anxious. It's going to make you lose more sleep if you click on that attachment. So that is one of the examples where you have to be brave. You have to be brave enough to say, no, I'm not going to keep training you, brain, that sleeplessness is a threat by opening this email. Because that behavior, the behavior opening the email, reading about it, it kind of confirms just the mere behavior of threat monitoring is affirms to your brain that you should be threat monitoring. You have to be on the lookout. I have something to be fearful about. So you have to be brave. Don't click on that attachment. Be brave. That was number one. Number two, let's say a friend calls you and goes, hey, so-and-so's birthday party this Friday, we're going to go to this place at 10 and we're going to probably be there till 1 or something. And your brain goes, nope, that's not a good idea. You need your sleep. Sleeplessness is a threat. It's really dangerous. You have to be home by that time. Well, guess what? If you tell your friend, no, sorry, I can't make it, then you are training your brain that sleeplessness is dangerous. You're kind of confirming it. You're your behavior tells your brain that it's supposed to, treat sleeplessness as a threat. So this is another example of when you have to be brave and say, sure, I'll come. and you know, you just, sure, I'll come, you go out there, you have a good time. Guess what? Now you're training your brain that, you know, it has nothing to be fearful of. So that's another example. You have to be brave. Now, 3 out of 4 here. Let's say you're in bed, you wake up, you know, and you're getting frustrated. You know, it's pitch dark. You know, you're in bed, you're tossing and turning, you're getting more and more anxious, and you know that at this point in time, you should leave the bed and go read a book that you enjoy or something like that. But your brain is telling you, don't do it, stay in bed. You're going to lose out on sleep. If you get up now, you're going to be more alert. You're definitely not going to more. Just stay in bed, try to sleep, get some sleep. That's another time where you have to be brave. You have to be brave and get out of bed and go read a book that you enjoy and like shift gear. Because when you're doing that, you're training your brain that loss of sleep is nothing it has to be fearful of. The behavior of staying in bed, trying to sleep, that's affirming to your brain that it has to be afraid of losing sleep. Another example of where you have to be brave. Now the last one, let's say, you know, you've gone a couple of days, slept very little. You really don't want to take any medications. You really want to get off medications, but you're thinking about taking that pill tonight. And your brain is going, of course you have to take it. You haven't slept for 2 days. You got to do it. Sleeplessness is a threat. You know, you got to do anything you can, but you know at some point that it's not the right thing to do. Because when you take that pill, you may sleep better that night, but you have just trained your brain that sometimes you have to take a pill. You know, you're training your brain that sleeplessness is really dangerous. You're training your brain that, you know, if you hadn't taken that pill, you wouldn't have slept at all. You're training your brain that sleeplessness is a threat, something to be fearful of. So another example of when you have to be brave. And you will see that if you are brave and you train your brain to be brave as well and not look at sleeplessness as a threat, you will sleep really, really well. If you are fearless, you're no longer going to be sleepless. So I hope this was helpful to you. If you have any questions, as always, please leave a comment or send me an email, daniel@insomniainsight.co, and I'll be back here with more very shortly. Until then, bye-bye.